This is the Cycling Over 60 podcast, Season 4, Episode 9, Cycling Hungary and Romania with Wire Donkey Tours. And I'm your host, Tom Butler. "2026 is shaping up to be a big year for Cycling Over 60. I have a bunch of projects I'm working on currently, and that means I've been really busy. So my podcast recording schedule has gotten interrupted. The worst issue is that as I've gotten more busy, I'm finding it harder to find time to ride. Last week, I spent 4 days in bed sick, and that didn't help either. But it isn't all bad. I'm definitely going to have to find ways of fitting cycling around a schedule that is getting more and more crowded. But the truth is that most people have to do that. So if I can find strategies to help me get out and ride, maybe that can help others as well. As I move further into 2026, the truth is that I'm not going to be able to do everything I have planned on my own. That means hiring people to help, which also means having the money to hire people to help. I spent 5 days at a conference talking to a bunch of people about how to generate some funds to expand what I'm doing with Cycling Over 60. I'm very excited to be working on some funding channels, including writing some grants, that will help me do more in addition to the podcast. As things progress, I'll certainly be doing updates on the podcast. A good example of expanding Cycling Over 60 is the Tour de Cure. I'm working to build a strong relationship with the American Diabetes Association here in the Pacific Northwest. That relationship can only help get the message out that exercise is medicine, and therefore the bike is a medical device. And this is, of course, near and dear to my heart because of my own journey with diabetes. Now, please consider joining us on May 2nd here for the Tour de Cure, even if it means traveling from another state. I would love to see you, and it's going to be a gorgeous ride here in the Pacific Northwest. Speaking of the bike as a medical device, we're doing a special project. It is a film called Bike RX. It will follow the story of a couple of people dealing with diabetes and culminates with our participation in the Tour de Cure. I cannot wait to get the film out there. We won't have all the filming and post-production done until July, but I hope to have a preview of the film available sometime in March. I mentioned the conference I went to. It was in Orlando. I did a ton of walking, but no cycling for the whole time I was there. That is something that I want to change. I need to work out how to rent a bike when I'm at a conference. One thing about this trip to Orlando was it was cold. Now, no colder than in the Seattle area, but I anticipated that it was going to be warm there. If I'd planned on cycling when I was in Orlando, I'm afraid I wouldn't have packed the right gear. My next trip is going to be in Oklahoma City in March, so I have some time to work out the details about how to find a bike there, or how to ship my bike. I'm a little nervous about renting a bike and getting it to fit. Bike fit has been an important deal for me, so I'll have to learn a little about that. Now, if you have any thoughts on dropping into a city and finding a bike to use, let me know. We got an email from Wire Donkey Tours come into the Tacoma, Washington Bicycle Club. The email promoted cycling in Romania and Hungary. That sounded so cool, and I felt like I had to record a conversation with them. So here's my discussion with Peter Illés. Welcome, Peter Illés, to the podcast. You're here from Wire Donkey Tours, and I really thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Now, one thing about the podcast is that I have this long list now of places that I want to go bike, and I'm positive that this conversation is going to add to that list. And I'm really excited to hear about your tour company and what you do. I want to start out with having you talk about, have you always been interested in cycling?
I could say yes. It comes from the family. So I remember even when I was a small kid, I don't know, 5, 6 years old, I was already going on a couple of hours long bike tours with mom and dad. My mom is 74 this year, and she's still commuting by bike a lot. So we're a biking family. And when I was a bit older, I think in elementary school, I remember my brother going on mountain bike trips all the time. So it kind of stuck with me. Yeah. So
I think that's nice. I love it, when families are cycling together. I love seeing families on bike trails and stuff. I think that's awesome. Tell us how Wired Donkey cycling tours came to be. What inspired you to start doing cycling tours? And then, of course, talk about that name. Where's the name come from?
Right. I'll get to the name, but I'm going to try to answer the first part of the question first. So it's basically, so on the one hand, I already mentioned my passion for cycling and how it comes from the family. And on the other hand, whenever we went on holidays, we went on holidays with a group of friends quite often. And it is always me who did all the planning and where what we have to see, where we have to sleep, all the logistics and everything behind it. It was always done by me. And at one point I realized that okay, why not just combine these two things and do cycle tours? And that's how it came to be. Actually, it's not my primary job, so it's sort of like another business. I run another business as well. So this is like a, s- a a side business, I could say, but a serious business. So but yeah, that's how it came to be. And about the name, it's actually wire donkey is like a playful term for the bicycle here in this area of Europe, because basically it's like a donkey, you sit on it and it's made of wire. So that's how wire donkey came to be. It's a translated name. We in Hungarian you say drót szamár, which is the wire donkey. So and I think that kind of playfulness and wittiness also characterizes me in a way, so it felt fitting. Yeah.
I love it. I think that's awesome. And I think it's also a cool picture of the bicycle. They're like donkey to me is kind of a working term. The bicycle as a hardy device and as something that can carry you. And I think wired donkey is wonderful.
If you think about it, yeah, we are talking about bike touring, but initially the bike was a working tool, so
Yeah.
it's fitting. Yeah.
Yeah. Your tours focus on regions of Hungary and Romania, and we're talking to you from that region now. And tell me what makes these areas special for cycling.
Yes. So first of all, why we're focusing on Hungary and Romania? I think it's worth speaking about as well. It's basically again, it stems from me, from personally from me, because I was born in Romania, but Romania, and especially the Transylvania area of Romania, has a very large Hungarian minority, and I'm one of that minority. So I'm a Hungarian born in Romania. I speak both languages, so it sort of stems from me. It comes from me, and these are the two countries that I know really well. So it made sense to focus on these countries, but they're very different. So Hungary and Romania is very different. Hungary, it's a very interesting fact. After the Denmark and the Netherlands, which are the two big cycling countries in Europe, Hungary has the biggest percentage of trips made by bike. So it's a third place in Europe, but it's not touring. It's mostly commuting. So there's a lot of people, especially in the rural areas, that are commuting by bike. And the infrastructure, the biking infrastructure in Hungary sort of reflects that. So there's a lot of bike paths from a village into the city to collect these people who are commuting in the morning. But the problem with this is that they're not connected. So all these bike paths are usually not connected between each other. The surfaces are not the best always. So it's not really suitable for cycling without a guide. That set aside, Hungary is fantastic for biking because it is just made for the relaxing kind of bike touring. It's almost every second or third town is a spa town. They have these thermal baths. We have a lot of different wine regions, red wine regions, white wine regions. So it's just made for, cycling slowly, taking it double in, stopping for a bath, arriving at your destination in the evening and grabbing a glass of wine. So that's how Hungary should be experienced, I think. Romania, on the other hand, is very different. It's very wild. I mean, it sounds cliche, but Romania is is really like one of the last wildernesses of Europe. Especially if you go out on your gravel bike, you can hit the dirt trails and ride on them for hours and hours without seeing another human. So, and when you get into a small hamlet or a village, you're definitely going to be the attraction for the day. So it's very remote in some places. It's natural beauty as well as cultural and historical. So they're quite different. Yeah, in that sense.
Oh, when you bring Americans over, or when you're talking to Americans, do you think there's not much awareness of what Hungary and Romania have to offer for people?
So I think I think they're quite aware, to be honest, especially in Romania. There's a lot of people know Transylvania, of course, because from the movies and from whatever, and they want to visit Transylvania, and they do a lot of research, in my experience, so they're quite aware of how it's going to be. And I think that's also one of the reasons why they choose a guided tour, because they know there's no infrastructure. They know it's going to be probably a bit more difficult to get around, handling traffic, doing all the logistics without a guide. So, in my experience, they're quite aware. Maybe a bit less so about Hungary, because everybody just knows Budapest, and whenever you go outside of Budapest, it's very different, and they're not always ready for that. But definitely for Transylvania, they're quite aware of what to expect.
I asked that question because I think the Romanian wilderness, I think there would be a lot of people surprised, to find just how picturesque it is, pedaling through the Romanian wilderness. I've seen a few videos, and it's just like, wow, that is just amazing.
Well, yeah. So maybe initially, when they start Googling or ChatGPT nowadays about Romania, they might be surprised at first, but by the time they get into discussions with me, they're quite prepared.
Nice. I like it. Our podcast is focused on getting people active later in life. And I'm wondering if you have a philosophy when it comes to mature cyclists. How do you like balance challenge with comfort and enjoyment?
Right. So what we do at Wild Donkey Cycling Tours is basically slow cycling. That's how we define ourselves. When we do tours, again, I think this comes from my personality as well, but I always like tours when there's a very strong mix of cycling and, just being outdoors, being in nature. And also there's a very strong culture and historical element. So, I love going to places where there's a story to tell, where there you can still observe some traditions being kept alive, where you can visit some artisans who still ply their trade like they did hundreds of years ago, and where there's lots of legends and lore that can be told. And Romania, especially the Transylvania region, the Bukovina region, it lends really well to this. And having so many stories to tell, places to show, means that even if you ride short distances in a day, you get a lot of breaks. So basically, you can ride 40 kilometers and still be out for 5 or 6 hours a day. So it's quite relaxing. There's a journey feeling to it. It's just not just riding from point A to B. And mature audiences tend to resonate with that. And most of my tours are people, yeah, who are already retired and, just traveling to Europe maybe for a month or a month and a half and doing a week-long trip in Transylvania in between.
That's awesome. To me, that's perfect. So, walk us through a typical day. What does it look like from when you get up in the morning, and how does the day usually unfold?
Yeah, so it's quite relaxing, to be honest. There's never any rush on my tours. You get up, we have a common breakfast, usually everyone sitting together. Then we start packing. while everyone packs their bags. Me and my I never know what to call him. My help, who helps me with the driver of the support vehicle and helps me with all the different stuff. His name's Robbie, so I just call him Robbie.
Right.
So when the group is still packing, we go head out. We look at the bikes, see if everything's in working condition. Then we pack the support vehicle. Everybody can still have their second coffee by that time. Then we get on the bikes, ride for 40 minutes, an hour, stop at a fortress or whatever, tell a story, ride another half an hour, stop again, and so on. Then we have lunch. Lunch is usually, especially on my tours, we tend to avoid restaurants and stuff like that, and we rather do, like, we have there's a chain of people, locals, who open their house and let you in and enjoy a meal. So they cook for you. So it's we like these places where you can actually taste some local, home cooked meal, warm meal. So you get a really good warm soup, some nice, second course, and always a shot of Romanian palinka, as they call it, which is a type of brandy. So yeah, then we ride for another hour or two, and then we settle in at our lodging for the evening. We pop up, open a bottle of wine, and tell some more stories about the area. So super relaxing, slow travel.
That's delightful. I love the aspect of like connecting with people and having people basically, like you said, open their homes or, to provide food that they might cook for their family. I mean, I think that's a wonderful element.
Yeah, definitely. We like to. So these tours are also giving back to the local communities. So it's a way of, we travel rural areas usually, and these, whatever we spend on these tours, on lodging, on food, a lot of that goes back to the local communities. So the guest houses we're staying in, we mentioned we like to avoid restaurants. We also like to avoid big chain hotels or hotels in general, and rather stay at these local little guest houses, especially on our Saxon Heritage Trail tour. We stay in these old Saxon houses that have been renovated. So you can see how they lived. You can still go out in the barn in the back and see how they look around the courtyard. It's still set up the same way, but they're restored. So on the inside you have all the comforts that you need, and that money spent on those guest houses goes back to the local community. There's a foundation that operates these houses, and all the proceeds go back to local communities and educational projects and restoring the church and stuff like that. So that's where we sleep, and where we eat is also going directly into someone local, into their back pockets, and not in a restaurant. Yeah.
I love it. It sounds like people are very welcoming to open up and be there for people. Is that part of it?
Both Hungarians and Romanians are very, very famous for their hospitality. So yeah, definitely, most definitely.
Nice. Let's talk about bikes and equipment. What kind of bikes are you providing?
Right. So the kind of bikes we're offering also depends on the tour. So some of our tours are, it's only road cycling. So we're on asphalt or tarmac roads. In that case, we can provide a drop handlebar road bike or flat bar touring bike. On some of our other tours, there's a lot more off-road, so gravel. So we don't really do mountain bike, but we do a lot of gravel tours. And on gravel tours, you can, of course, get a drop bar gravel bike, or you can get a mountain bike if you're more comfortable on that. And on both tours, there's always e-bikes options available. So touring e-bikes or mountain bikes as well, depending on the tour. So there's quite a big variety of bikes that we can provide.
We'll be right back.
I'm taking a moment here to remind you that we're putting together something special for next May, the Tour de Cure Pacific Northwest. It's the signature fundraising ride for the American Diabetes Association. I know it's early, but that's exactly the point. By signing up now, we'll have plenty of time to build excitement and turn this into a great launch party for the summer cycling season. I want to give a special shout out to Convergent Wealth for sponsoring our team jerseys. Thanks to Convergent, Team Cycling Over 60 is going to stand out with custom jerseys and make a powerful statement that vitality means staying active as you age. Head over to tour.diabetes.org/team/CO60 and sign up for the ride. You can find that link in the show notes. And if you're listening from outside the Pacific Northwest, consider this your invitation to come experience some of the most beautiful cycling routes in the country. It's going to be our spring celebration of everything we love about cycling and the enduring joy that it brings to our lives, no matter our age. Let's come together to make this a great event with a purpose. Have you thought about it? Maybe you do this. What if somebody wanted a more challenging experience? Is that possible? Do you do any tours that are for people that maybe either off-road or on tarmac want to challenge themselves?
Yeah. So on our website, there's most of our tours are in the touring category. So those are shorter distances that everybody can handle. We have a couple more challenging tours. So we have the Epic Mountain Passes tour, which goes on the Transfăgărășan and the Transalpina, which are the two highest passes in Romania. So they're close to 2,000 meters in height. And you do quite a lot of climbing there. And this is also a week-long tour, and daily distances are 80 kilometers plus usually. So, and you also have these two big mountain passes that you do during the tour. So that's a challenging road tour. And then we have a couple of gravel tours as well, where the distances might not be big, 40, 50 kilometers, but quite a lot of technical bits and maybe even a push bike on it. So yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, if somebody wants something even harder, there's always some custom tours that we can talk about. Yeah, we do custom tours as well.
Okay. Now I met you or got introduced to you because you sent a message to the Tacoma Washington Bicycle Club, and you just mentioned custom tours. So I'm thinking that if a club said, "Hey, we've got X number of people that we'd like to bring over," then you could work with them and really build something that the club wanted.
Yeah, definitely. I'm working on such a tour right now because one of my groups from the past years, they want to come back, but they want to bring a lot more people. So when they were here, they were in a small group, and now they want to come with 20 people. And they also want to do a 2-week-long tour, which I don't normally do because most of my tours are 6-7 days, and now they want to come for 13 days. So that's a lot more logistics in it. But right now I'm designing a special custom tour for them. Yeah.
It sounds like it becomes more difficult for this to just be a side thing if you're doing like 2-week tours. So.
Yeah. Fortunately, I have a very flexible primary job, which is also my company, so I can just leave whenever I want.
Okay.
That
So
makes it a lot.
you're able to negotiate with the boss, I guess.
Yeah, it's quite easy. That makes it easy. Yeah.
Now,
It's lenient.
yeah. Some of our listeners might worry about like keeping up with the group or, holding the group back, things like that. How do you approach that question?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's all about slow cycling. It's about, taking in the place more so than, just pedaling from A to B. We always adjust our speed to the slowest person in the group. And if there's anyone who wants to run ahead, then they just roll up to me and tell me, "Hey, where should I wait for you guys?" And then I'm going to give them a point of interest or something that they can easily identify. And okay, you should go 6 miles to the cross on the right and wait for us there. And that's how we approach it usually. So they don't have to, if the speed is not enough for them, they can head on ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
If someone said, I'm just not feeling good today. I maybe overdid it yesterday or something, and they wanted to get transportation. Is that possible?
Yeah, so we always have a support vehicle with us, which is, either a minibus or a van, depending on the size of the group. And if anybody feels sick, they're just out of it, or maybe then they can just opt for the support vehicle. Yeah.
Nice. Can you share any stories, any experience you've had? Particularly like older cyclists that come and kind of surprise themselves. Have you experienced that?
Yeah. Just my last tour last year. So it was a late September tour, and I had a lady from Colorado, and she was 80 years old. So right off the bat, it was super nice to have someone that old on the tour. But the tour they went on had a not really difficult, but it had a couple of off-road sections, gravel sections, and she didn't have any gravel or mountain biking experience before, and she was quite hesitant. So Romanian gravel is very different to US gravel. So US gravel, you have this like you have on Unbound and stuff like that. You this big, wide gravel roads. So we call that Gucci gravel because it's it's so flat and nice to ride. Yeah. Romanian gravel is more like dirt roads, tractor roads. So you have this big, tractor, on what do you call them? The little rods on both sides. So you to have a bit of technique to not go in the rut and fall over. And she was quite hesitant the first day. It was a very short, I don't know, 5 kilometer gravel section, but she was a bit hesitant and feeling uncomfortable about it. But I mean, by day 5, she was absolutely flying through these, and she was an absolute trooper, and I was so proud of her. I mean, it was awesome to see how much she progressed. Yeah.
Love it. And I love Gucci gravel. I'm going to use that from time to time, but I would have to say I like Gucci gravel. So now, for someone who's never done multi-day cycling tours before, and this is their first experience, do you have some recommendations? Do you have some observations about common mistakes that first timers make? Anything like that?
Before each tour, we do have a video call with the people, so I prepare them quite well on what to expect. But one common mistake they do is overpacking. So overpacking is something that happens quite frequently, which usually isn't much of an issue, except for Robbie, who's in the support van and has to carry the bags. So, but uh, but yeah, you don't have to pack so much. Most of our tours, we can do a laundry day in between, and just we send out the packing list actually a month before the tour. So if you go by the packing list, you should have no issues packing.
And packing has a bit to do with weather and all that. Are there some times that are, particularly good, other times that are particularly rainy or inclement? What's the climate like?
It's continental, so I guess it's quite similar to most of the US. Not the extremes. So it's definitely not like Nevada hot or I don't know anything in the north, North Dakota cold. But but yeah, I mean the best time for both countries, for Hungary and Romania as well. I think it's probably the fall or Indian summer around that time. So late August to mid-October. That's probably the best season to go. Yeah, foliage is turning all kinds of colors. You get the sun still shining. Temperatures are perfect. So that's the best time to ride. Spring as well, temperature-wise, but it can get windy, especially in Hungary. Summers are actually they're the most popular. So most of my tours are in the summer, but it can get quite hot. So you need a lot of sun cream in the summer because it's just beating down on you. Yeah. So rainy, especially rainy, you can get rainy days in the spring. That happens, but yeah, you just have to dress up for it.
Now, I'm thinking that one of the benefits of going with you on a tour is there are like some hidden gems that you know about. And I'm wondering if you could give an example of that. What is something that you feel is just really awesome to go visit?
So the benefits of going with a guide is we can tailor the tour to the group. So, for example, if I on the first day I see that someone is bringing along their big ass camera, I I immediately know. Okay, I have to show him this spot, this spot, this spot because I know the good photo spots. I can tell him, okay, come with me, let's go up that hill, and that's where you're gonna have a good photo spot. We guys, we know the trails, so we know the hidden trails that are really good. We, you know, we can show you, for example, especially with mature groups, especially when there's a lot of older ladies, it's so interesting to bring them to see a couple of local artisans. So, for example, we often go to a lady who does weaving on a loom, and it's super interesting to see that for them. Other groups, especially there's a lot of male guests, we take them to blacksmiths, and and then they can actually try their hand at smithing. So we can tailor the tours based on the group. We know all the hidden little wine cellars that are, so we don't go to the big commercial wine cellars. We go to the small mom and pop winemakers and stuff like that. So that's the advantage of going on a guided trip. I think.
Are you still discovering places? Are there locals that are coming up to you and saying, "Hey, you should maybe check this out," or do you think at this point you're very familiar with things?
We Yes, we are still discovering things, and it's also interesting because a lot of things change from year to year. I mean, I mentioned craftsman. There was an old guy who was a brick maker, and unfortunately, 2 years ago he passed away. So you have to adapt and find something new to fit in your program. The roads, I mentioned dirt roads, tractor roads. One year it was here, and the next year it's a kilometer away because they they plow their fields in a different way. So we can get surprises from time to time, and we're also discovering new things. Last year I found a new road that wasn't paved before. Now it's paved. It's awesome because now we can use it for our tour because we couldn't before. There's a new community of young people who just opened up an old mill, and now they're doing community lunches and stuff like that. So it's super interesting to do again. Yeah.
That's fun, and I'm surely appreciate you bringing a group of people to help
Oh,
you
they.
out. So,
Yeah. Well, that's why they do it. Yeah.
yeah,
Just to
fantastic.
show the community. Yeah.
How would you talk about experiencing wine country and how it's different by bike than by car? Do you feel like there's some real quality differences there?
Well, when you're going to wine country with a car, there's always someone who's suffering because they can drink. So especially on the bike, both Romania and Hungary has tolerance for drinking and cycling. So they have zero tolerance when drinking and driving, but nobody's gonna fine you if you had a glass or two of wine and you ride your bike. So that's the most. So that's a functional reason, if I can say so. Other than that, I would say it just has that feeling, when you ride up the hill, because wine cellars are always uphill. Uh, you know, you're tired. You lean your bike next to the brick wall of the cellar. You go inside. It's cool. It's chilly. You can cool down, and you order a glass of Chardonnay, and then sit outside on the terrace. There's something about this feeling that you can really get on the car. I don't. Maybe
Yeah,
it's just.
I totally can understand that. The other thing I think about it, like you have to respond to this, is it seems to me like you have a different relationship to your surroundings when you're going through at the speed of a bicycle. I'm thinking sometimes you're actually passing vineyards, and there's like to me this different. There's this ability to absorb more of just the whole farming aspect or viticulture aspect of the winery that you're going to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what you just said. I always found that cycling is like the ideal way of getting around. Walking, you just don't see enough. You're not progressing fast enough. By car, you're either going too fast or you're going in a closed car. So you don't get the wind on your face. You don't get the smells of your surroundings, which you get on a bike. So it makes it a lot more immersive. Yeah.
So if someone's, in their 60s, 70s, even 80, that's feeling hesitant about doing a
Mhm.
bike tour, what would you say to them? What are some things that you would want them to know?
Well, first of all, go for it because it's not about the speed. It's not yes, we do cycling tours, but to be honest, the bike itself is is just a means of getting around. We choose the bike because it's what is connecting us. It's a shared interest. We like go cycling, but that's not what defines the tours. Think of it as just a European holiday that you just so happen to do it on a bike. It's more about experiencing Europe, experiencing Transylvania, Hungary, rather than going on a bike trip. Yeah. So if you're hesitant, yeah, you probably won't go for our Epic Mountain Passes tour because that's about the cycling. But most of our tours aren't necessarily about the cycling. That's just an additional bonus, if I can say so.
Here's what I'm hearing. That I'm hearing that wild wired donkey tours, you're able to go with someone who is pulling a lot of things together. And so, you know, if you're 60s and 70s, even if you've not ever been on a tour before, then you're putting yourself in the hands of somebody that really gets, having a pleasant experience, about, someone that understands the bicycle as a tool to experience an environment, to experience different things, to move at the pace of a bicycle, but also, the experience of connecting with people who, knowing the right people who are welcoming. And so I just think, as I'm talking to you, I just feel so much trust in you, Peter, in like handing someone off and saying, hey, you're going to be taken care of, and, he's got a Robbie who can take care of things, And so, I think that's very important, is to choose a tour operator that is really thinking about all the things that you've expressed here, giving back to the local community, what people need, making it a relaxing experience for people who are seeking that kind of experience. So I just feel like it's great to like introduce people to wild donkey tours and to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. You put it into words perfectly, I think. And what I would add to that is there's one thing that we didn't really touch upon is that what we do is actually we only do small group cycling tours. So that's super important because all the things that you said, our philosophy, our way of thinking about bike tours, it can only be done in small groups. So we intentionally limit our groups to 4 to 8 people. So that's the way our standard tours are best enjoyed. We can do custom tours that are over 8 people, but then it's going to be a bit different. Yeah. But our standard tours, to be able to offer this kind of experience, it needs to be limited to very small groups.
That's awesome. So how do people get connected with you? What are what are the ways that people do that? Get connected to you?
Well, always through my website. So you have to go to my website, and from there you can send me a message. You can WhatsApp me directly from the website. So that's the best way to get in touch with me.
And that's wireddonkeytours.com.
wireddonkeytours.com. Yeah.
And I'll put a link in the show notes to wireddonkeytours.com. How about learning more about Romania, do you have some thoughts about where people can see some, some images, some videos, things like that?
Right. So we have an Instagram profile where you can get some images as well. To be perfectly honest, it's I should be a lot more active on social, but but you can still find a lot of images there if you want. There's also plenty of images on the website, and we have a blog on our website which is called the Donkey Blog. You can go on Donkey Blog, and there's plenty of resources about Romania, not necessarily only for people who want to come on one of our guided tours, but also for other people. The way we think about our blog is it being a resource for everyone who wants to enjoy Romania and Hungary by bike. So it can be people who go on a self-guided tour, who are bikepacking, who won't even consider going on a commercial tour. They can still find a lot of, I hope, useful information on our website about routes, bike safety, how to avoid bears, stuff like that.
You just said something there about bike packing.
Right.
And I'm wondering if you have ever considered, or if you would consider, like, not having a Robbie, having a group of people that are self-supporting, going out for a few days of camping. Is that something you've done or thought about doing?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's something I'm thinking about adding. Maybe in the future. I'm saying I have a couple of routes already planned without all the logistics, but the routes are there, especially in Hungary. Hungary lends itself maybe a bit better to this than Romania, because Romania is, you can have encounters with bears. So it's a bit risky taking a bigger group maybe. But definitely in Hungary around Lake Balaton, which is our big lake, you can really go on a really, really nice bikepacking trip. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to follow Wired Donkey. Again, I knew it would happen. I mean, that trip just has to be on my list of things that I want to do. I need to take. I don't know how to have the time to do all the things that I want to do, but yeah, it just sounds wonderful. Thank you, Peter, for taking the time to come on and talking about your tours and about the area and all those things. I've really appreciated hearing from you.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care now.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
I don't think there's anything more appealing to me than the thought of riding around the countryside in Hungary and enjoying the hospitality of the local people. Unfortunately for me, I've got so many trips I want to take, and Wild Donkey Tours is going to have to wait. But that conversation with Peter really sparked my imagination. I hope some of you listening will be able to put together a group of 4 to 8 people and do one of their tours. Now, if you do, be sure to reach out. I would love to have you on the podcast to talk about your experience. I recently did a very memorable ride, joining with others to honor Alex Preddy. I experienced a wonderful sense of community during that ride. I think it is a special element of the bicycle. I hope you are also finding that kind of community with your cycling. And remember, age is just a gear change.